Yeah.
Oh, I don't know, the last like 5 minutes, I don't know what's been going on and I thought it was hopeless, but solved it. Thank you.
Okay, good. Oh, there's Susan. Great.
Where's Susan?
Here she is.
Hi, Susan.
Hi, Susan.
And so we know about Josh. We don't know about Paige. Maybe she's on her way. Peter, have you seen her wandering around?
What?
Have you seen Paige wandering around the neighborhood?
She's
Is she
not
coming?
here? No,
Not yet.
I don't know. I think she's upstate though.
Okay.
She should be, she goes online, so we should
Right.
be coming in.
Doesn't matter where she is.
All right. Well, we'll give another minute and then we'll get going.
Do you have closed captioning on your ads, folks?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
All right. Max, does it look like our presenters are in attendance? Do we have a following?
Looks like there's a ton, actually. I can start promoting them all if you'd like. That's no problem. Or if you'd like to call on them individually, but I can start. How I'll defer to how you guys would like to handle it.
What do y'all think?
I don't
Yeah,
know.
put everybody in.
Page, okay.
Oh, good. This page.
Paige? Okay. Great. So we're only missing Josh. Hello, Jay.
Okay, for everyone that's here for an application, I am promoting you. You'll just have to click the prompt, so then you can get on the screen, and then the co-chairs will call on you in order.
Max, when you get a chance, you'll also need to enable screen sharing.
Ah, yes, that one. Thank you, Mark. Good one. Forgot. Should be good on the screen share and now.
All right. Welcome, everybody. You've reached the Preservation Committee of Community Board 7. We're glad you're all with us. We look forward to tonight's meeting. Just 2 items on the agenda that I have. I guess we'll see how that goes. And just to remind everybody, our mandate is to consider applications for in historic districts and for individual landmarks that are to go before the commissioners of the Landmarks Preservation Commission, and to consider those things, drop a resolution either in support or not, or with some considerations that the members of the committee might have. We then bring those to the full board, which will be meeting next month in September 6th. And then we, depending on what the full board's pleasure is, we will then go to the appropriate Landmarks Commission meeting and present our community's feeling, at least the way we understand it, about whatever you're proposing. So with that in mind, maybe we should just start by introducing ourselves. I want to introduce my co-chair, Michele, who's here. She's taking notes, so I'll probably take on more of the talking than usual. And I also want to introduce Max from the Community Board Office, our district manager. And then our committee members, Madge is here, Mark, Peter, and Clary, Jay, Susan, and Paige. Did I hit everybody?
Yeah.
Okay, beautiful. Okay, as I say, we have 2 items. So the first item on the agenda that is before us is 270 West 89th Street. And that is a Certificate of Appropriateness for restoration and refurbishment of historic wood windows, replacement in kind of steel-framed fire-rated windows, and installation of ballistics-resistant windows behind the historic windows. Okay, wow. So this is, of course, Congregation B'nai Jeshurun. So we welcome those of you who are here to speak on their behalf. We are going to listen very carefully to the presentation. Following that, there'll be questions from the committee members. And then following that, we'll invite anybody who's here from the public to raise their hands and come on and ask a question or state an opinion. And then we will come up with a resolution and take a vote. Sound okay? Great. Okay. All right. B'nai Jeshurun, please tell us what you have in mind.
Okay, so let me first introduce myself and my team. My name is Lauren Prince. I'm an associate director over at Howard L. Zimmerman Architects and Engineers. So I am heading this project with Daniel Berlew, who is my colleague. Him and I also run a window and door department at HLZA. We do all things glazing, doors, and windows, so hence why we're here. And my colleague Natalie, she is also helping us out on this project. She's going to be our eyes and ears on site, and she will be basically the lead of the project once we enter construction. So that's the team that's presenting tonight, and thank you for allowing us to present our presentation.
Awesome, thanks. All right, do you need to, yeah, there you go.
So I'm sure that most of you are very familiar with this building. It's a landmark is probably the weakest word I can come up with, but it's a pillar of the community here. And so we're very excited to be presenting this project to you. At Howard Zimmerman, we have more than one construction project that's ongoing here. You might have noticed that there's a sidewalk shed outside this building right now that's currently not shown in this photo. And the reason for that is we're doing an extensive facade restoration campaign in compliance with local law 11 or the facade inspection safety program required by the New York City DOB. But this is separate, somewhat related, but separate. So myself, Dan, and Natalie are presenting to you the window replacement job, which is going to come, which is expected to come immediately after the facade restoration project so that we can keep our brand new windows nice, protected from the exterior restoration work. And so I will present to you the project. This is the north elevation, or what you would know as the front elevation of the building. This, of course, is its most historic and notable elevation of the building that we intend to keep beautiful. Just to sort of give you an idea of what we're working with the building here, the north facade, as known as the front facade, contains only wood window framed stained glass windows. So it's important to sort of keep that distinction in mind. What we're talking about here is we're just restoring the windows in kind. So we're going to be taking them out, having them shock restored, and then they'll be placed back in once they are put back as new. Nothing will change aesthetically. It's going to be the same material, same window, just restored to its original historic integrity. This facade is actually under review with LPC under a staff level review. So we're not going to pay too much attention to it tonight. And because we're just restoring in kind. But I just want to give you, as we sort of move around the building, just want to give you an idea of what we're dealing with. So this is the only facade with wood stained glass windows. The remaining three facades, the east, the south, and the west, they all contain steel fire rated windows. And that's really what we're going to be getting into tonight. Now I'm going to turn it over to Natalie, who's going to introduce you to the district.
Okay, all right. So as you can see, so the community house, or 270 West 89th Street, is located on the most eastern part of the Riverside West End Historic District. And this historic district spans from 85th Street to 95th Street, from the Riverside Drive to a little bit over the West End Avenue. And so the community center itself is located between West End Avenue and Broadway. And on the right, there is a map where you can see this district in relationship to Manhattan and Central Park. So we can go to the next slide. Okay, and so in this more close-up view of the map, we're showing you where it is located in relationship to the B'nai Jeshurun synagogue itself. So as Lauren was mentioning, the north facade located on West 89th Street is the most prominent. And then on the south, at West 88th Street, we have the very memorable facade of B'nai Jeshurun synagogue itself.
Just to note, the two buildings are actually annexed, but they have separate bin numbers, so they're treated separately under separate applications.
Okay, can go to the next slide. All right, and over here, this is kind of a closer look again of the building and all of its components and in relationship to its adjacent buildings and how tall they are. So our building, which is in purple, it is a 7-story building and it has different heights. And then on the south, you can see that the number C is the annex or the attachment between the community house and the synagogue. And here in purple, we have in general notes, kind of the overview of the windows that are in scope. So all of the windows are in scope. But again, as Lauren was explaining, in this presentation, we're mostly going to be concerned about the still fire rated windows and the lot facing windows. Yes, the lot line windows. Yeah. And this might be it in terms of context.
Here, I'm just showing you some historic photos that we dug up from the tax files to just show you the historic aesthetic of the building, closer to its creation. What's important to notice that we're now starting to see some peeking out of the steel rated fire windows. So again, here, I'm not going to spend too much time on the facade because this was under a separate application, staff level review. This was important to note for LPC, the windows in scope that are visible from the street. So we have 2 here located on the east elevation. And just showing you, there's also, if you saw in the previous plan, that there's sort of a dugout courtyard. So we have to explore all of these elevations that are in their respective returns. Along each courtyard. So there's an east courtyard and a west courtyard in which steel fire rated windows face all directions. This would be the visible steel fire rated windows from the west side of the building. And again, just showing you sort of an exploded view of all of the windows that encapsulate that west courtyard. Both courtyards are not visible from the street, but there are a number of windows fire rated that are located in these areas. This is the best view that really you can see of the south elevation. Again, if you see in this sort of red highlighted box, we have 2 fire escapes that flank the east and west sides of the south elevation, which is important to note because a lot of our windows face the fire escapes. And so along with doors and windows that are serving these fire escapes, it's extremely important that these items are operable. And this is one of the sticking cases of our window replacement project to date, because some of the windows are inoperable. They're well past their life. And so this is a very crucial part to maintaining life safety of the occupants inside the building. And of course, you can see the landmark Jeshurun synagogue in front. So getting into the windows themselves, as some of you may know, if you're familiar with the building, we have existing fire rated wired windows. So I would say probably previous to the 1980s is when we started getting away from wired glass in fire rated glazing assemblies, and we went more towards clear fire rated glazing. So what you see here is somewhat of a historic window assembly. So we have a traditional fire rated steel double hung window that's prevalent all along the east, west, and south facades. And then what we have on top is what we call a modified sash or an applique. And for those of you that are familiar with the building, you may have seen this. We have over here to the left, we have this a grid of lead caming that are inputted into the sash. So it's applied to the fire rated window. And within the leads, small pieces of colored glass were inserted into these leads, giving it sort of a stained glass applique feel onto a fire rated window. While they're beautiful and of course maintain the aesthetic of the building, unfortunately, they have not held up very well over the years. The picture on the left gives you a typical condition of how we see them inside many of the offices and classrooms of the community house, which lends to its problem. So we have a fire rated window behind, an applied modified sash on front made of colored glass and lead caming. And a lot of these windows find themselves in various stages of deterioration and disrepair. As you can see to the left, some of the panes are missing completely. So that's where you can actually see the original wired glass beyond. In this case, some of them are broken, leaving a very sharp, dangerous edge. Some of them over here are breaking and cracked, meaning that those pieces will eventually fall off. The other thing that I touched on earlier is that a lot of these windows, unfortunately, are not operational, which is also a functional problem for the community house. Some of these windows serve fire exits, fire escapes, and so all of the doors and windows have to be fully functioning in terms of maintaining life safety. This project also, as I mentioned in the beginning, it was filed unsafe in cycle 8 for the facade inspection safety program for New York City DOB. And one of the defining reasons why it was filed unsafe was because of the state of these windows. Any presence of cracked or broken glass is automatically an unsafe signal to the DOB. And so as such, it is our duty also to repair and replace some of these windows to maintain the life safety for the occupants, but also to adhere to DOB mandate. Here's another view of some of the deteriorated windows, along with issues of cracked glass, the applique that's deteriorating and coming off the windows. Benai Jeshurun Community House also has an issue with air infiltration. Some of the windows don't open at all. Could be an issue with the balances, weights and chains not being maintained. Some of them are just victim to years and years and layers of paint that have essentially sealed them shut, making it very difficult to open or operate. And some of the frames have actually deteriorated and rotted away within their frames, causing really large gaps where the sash meets where the two sashes meet at the meeting rail, and also along the perimeter of the frame. So this photo on the left is just showing you more deficiencies that we find in the classrooms and the offices. The residents have taken it upon themselves to start stuffing insulation in the gaps just to get through the winters and also to keep energy loss low in the summers. More cracked glazing, more missing glazing that presents to be an issue. And again, a lot of the windows are inoperable. I wanted to touch base on this space in particular. This is located on the 6th floor of the community house. This is their gymnasium for a number of their tenants or school-age children. The windows were in such state of a disrepair that they had to put some safety glazing up in order to accommodate the needs of that new purpose space. The safety glazing has taken a beating over the years, but sort of doing its job. But as a result, it renders the existing windows on the exterior of the safety glazing completely inoperable. You can't get to them at all. So this has essentially left the windows just to sort of continue to deteriorate in a state of disrepair, and there's actually no way of getting to them unless you dismantle this entire window assembly with the safety glazing. So this is also becoming a large problem for Benai Jeshurun, because as these windows continue to deteriorate, this is on a very high level of the building. This is on the 6th floor. So we certainly don't want these windows to be failing and any sort of broken glass falling into the interior courtyards. Now we'll get into the proposed product. Some of you may be wondering why we are presenting this to you. As you know, the wood windows are under staff level review. That's the front of the facade, but the remaining 3 facades, because of the applied nature of the lead caming and the colored panes, our LPC preservationist advised us that that alone makes them a special window. The windows themselves aren't special in that, you know, they're square frames, they're either 1/1, they have a fixed transom. So in essence, they're not particularly special by LPC guidelines, but because of the applied applique that was done sometime in the history of the building, the preservationists felt that that automatically triggered a public hearing. And so then we bring this in front of you at the community board number 7. So I'm just going to give you a couple examples of the existing windows that we are seeing and the windows that we're replacing them with. Again, I want to stress to you that this is a life safety. Our goal here is really to maintain code and life safety for the occupants of the building. B'nai Jeshurun Community House is a very busy building. They have a number of tenants on every floor. And so it was important to give them a window that maintains the code requirements for their building, but also to, you know, keep the occupants of the spaces safe. We are proposing a fire-rated 45-minute double hung window to replace the existing windows in their configuration. They will match in size, frames, profiles, dimensions, as well as configuration. The only thing that we are not replicating is the applique LED camings and colored glass. Again, that was, you know, determined to be an applique to the existing historic windows. And in some ways, whenever you make an applique to a fire-rated assembly, things get a little tricky. Fire-rated assemblies are tested in, you know, they're UL rated in laboratory controlled testing. And as such, you know, modifications to fire-rated windows either have to be extremely custom through the manufacturing and also tested separately, or they're left alone. Any modifications to a fire-rated assembly that is not laboratory tested or rated can essentially fail the rating and can cause issues with life safety. So we made a decision between LPC and B'nai Jeshurun that we wanted to focus on the safety of this project, and that means giving them operable, clean, modern-looking, safe windows that they can continue to use their beautiful space with. So here we're presenting to you just one example of the many windows that are present on this building. Most of them are double hungs. Some of them feature transoms. Some of them also we have to accommodate existing HVAC ductwork or equipment that's already running through the existing windows. Hence why in this operation here, we're showing you that we're including a new insulated metal panel. That way it can accommodate their HVAC needs, you know, per space within the building. These are our existing typical details versus the proposed fire-rated new window details. The important things to note here are that we are planning on salvaging small pieces of the frame in order to maintain LPC sightlines. This was something that was suggested and worked through between us and LPC. So over here, we have the existing frame. It has a small little lip here that comes down and it returns up. The other thing that's important to note here is, unlike other buildings you may have witnessed, the fire-rated windows here are installed behind the masonry lintel. They're installed within a masonry pocket in the wall. So we had to do some engineering in order to fit the new window into the existing pocket. But we did leave this small little profile here on the heads and the jambs just for LPC consideration to make the windows best match the existing sight lines as much as possible. We come to our proposed window head detail here, in which we want to maintain that profile that I was showing you in the existing. We want to salvage that. And the new window will be inserted into the old masonry pocket. Upon further investigation, once we get into bidding and construction, we plan to do some probes in the masonry pockets themselves, because we need to start outfitting new structural substrates and supports to anchor the new fire-rated windows into the masonry pockets so that they will be adequately secured to the building. The sill details are very similar compared to the window that we're proposing. Here we have a very nicely pitched window sill here that we are intending to cut most of it out and remove. Again, we are trying to salvage as much of the frame profile as possible. So you can see here we are proposing to leave basically 3/4 of the entire remaining or existing sill, and we want to insert our new fire-rated window assembly into that pocket. That way we maintain the existing sight lines from the exterior view. So just showing you another example of typical fire rated windows. So now some of them have a mutton in the middle. And you can see on the inside here, this is one of the areas of B'nai Jeshurun currently where the windows are so badly deteriorated and broken and leaky that they've taken it upon themselves to put some plastic over the entire window face just to remain comfortable. So here, again, we are proposing to mimic the same configuration of the existing historic configuration without the applique. This shows you, we intend to match the glazing exactly how it was. You know, some of these windows serve spaces that are in bathrooms or locker rooms or changing rooms. And for that reason, you know, we have to specify obscured glass to maintain privacy for the program of those functions. Again, the details being very, very similar, really no matter what the type of window, we intend to keep the existing profile lip, installing a new fire rated window frame into the pocket. And then of course, the unknown new structural substrate that we will be specifying once we get into bidding and construction. And the sill details are very similar as well. These are just showing the windows in the courtyard, very similar to what you've seen before. Double hung windows with a fixed transom. These are located in the east elevation courtyard. If you notice, again, I'm only showing you some of the windows. The fire rated windows existing with the applied applique lead caming and colored glazing only really represent maybe 25 to 30% of all of the fire rated windows. Most of the fire rated windows in this building are clear glazing and with no lead caming or applique. And the details for these proposed options are very similar. It's another example of a triple configuration with the safety glazing. We intend to replace the safety glazing with options for venting when we get into the construction to maintain the gymnasium program of that space. And again, to protect the windows. And again, very similar details, whether it's a triple or a double or a single. And that concludes the overview of our presentation.
All right, thank you very, very much. That's a lot to take in.
Sorry.
So I wonder if are there questions? I see Jay has a question. Why don't we start that off and then Michele, Mark. Okay, let's take it in that order. Jay, can you come off mute?
I live on West End between 89th and 90th, and I probably pass this, at least the southern facade almost every day. In fact, I'm looking out my window and I see the sidewalk shed. So I have a couple of general questions and then a more specific. Secondly, who occupies the building now? Over the years, I've been here a lot of years, and there have been various occupants. The Heschel School was there for a while, various community groups. And so what's the use now? And who occupies it now?
So the new school, well, I should say the existing school is called Ideal. I don't know if you've heard of them. Ideal is now who occupies the classrooms and the gymnasium. You know, they use the gymnasium functions of B'nai Jeshurun. But I understand from the director, Colin Wall, that they will be having a new tenant moving in the spring of 2023.
Another school?
Another school.
Private school, a public school?
I assume private. I assume private.
Okay. I can't give you my exact recollection, but that sidewalk shed has been there for, it's got to be 7, 8, 10 years, maybe.
It's been a long time.
So if you're doing this work now, why has the shed been up so long? And I know
So-
they have been doing some work on it.
Yeah. So the shed has been up for so long because they've been running, I know, a 5+ year facade restoration campaign on this building. As part of the facade inspection safety program, this building falls under that jurisdiction. So it fell under FISP Cycle 8. And that building, I believe in Cycle 8, it was filed unsafe. One of the reasons, again, being the broken windows. We actually asked DOB for an extension, in essence, to file Cycle 9 unsafe again, just because we haven't had this project through approval yet. If it's any consolation, I've had this application open at LPC since 2017. So it's been a very long time to get this show on the road.
And will the sidewalk shed be gone when you've completed your project?
When I've completed my project, this shed will be gone.
All right, now I have a specific question about
Sure.
your project. You said that a certain percentage of the windows that you're applying to replace, that the divided lights are not really divided lights, but an applique to single pane 1/1 windows or however. But how long has that configuration been in existence on this building? The applique, which creates at
Yeah.
least the appearance of divided lights.
So we've been able to trace the applique to tax photos in the 1960s. That was interior photos. I do not have any interior photos of the building that predate then. As we know, the community house has been around for a lot longer than that.
Yes, I know. All right, so my question is, I don't know if since the 60s, maybe Paige can answer the question when she is speaking, whether that qualifies at all as historic. But my question is, being able to do this, I understand the windows have to be operable. I understand they have to be safe. I understand they have to be fire rated. So my last question is, with all that, why can't they be divided light windows?
So oh, go ahead.
Well, let me take that one. It's kind of window technical in my specialty. So the product that's been specified, and it's the double hung window that's only available in the market to satisfy us, because there's only one company that really makes operable fire rated windows, is Optimum. Optimum offers very limited modifications that they can do to their windows, and replicating the applique as it is shown, even with the grid pattern and omitting the colored glass, is not something that they're able to provide.
So they're the only company that
It is the bane of my existence.
I mean, we have all kinds of window replacement applications before our board, and correct me if I'm wrong, please, but I assume that when all of these window replacements are done, they all have to be fire rated. So
that is a very fair assumption to make, and I have run into this over my decade career in fenestration, dealing with windows and doors. If you need a fire rated double hung, I believe 90-minute, actually, Lauren, is what we're installing here, not just the 45.
We're in the code mandates 45.
Okay, so then we may have some more options in front of us, but right now our main player is dealing with Optimum, and I can tell you that the other fire rated people customize even less than what they do. The main challenge with replicating the caming is how narrow it is, and making them even a simulated divided light would be difficult. A true divided light would be almost impossible for a double pane glazed window, but for us, even for it to be simulated in that sense, they don't offer the ability to put the muntin in the center of the glass. So it would be very apparent that it is masquerading as something that it really isn't on top.
okay. All right, I'm surprised, I have to say, that that that's the case, but I take your word for it.
Well, another thing I wanted to note as well, in working with the congregation, we had posed to them one option, which was to, and this was the only way to maintain the existing rating from the manufacturer's product, was to screen print sort of a copy of this image onto the glazing. And that way that you're not disrupting the assembly, you're not disrupting the fire rated nature of the entire assembly. You're really, it's again, sort of the same thing. You're just sort of applying something to the fire rated glazing. Ultimately, we got through pricing, proposals, even samples review, and the congregation did not like the way that it looked. They felt that it looked a little cheap for sort of what they were going for. It was just sort of like an image of glass and LEDs printed onto a window. We had gotten so far that as of 4 weeks ago, that's what I was presenting to you. And then they saw the samples and said, absolutely not.
Doesn't sound particularly appealing.
Yeah, so.
It's not very attractive at all.
I suspect we probably would have agreed with
Yeah.
the congregation. It's that being the case, it's too bad that that there is not a divided light, at least in my personal opinion, a divided light alternative that would satisfy all the fire rating requirements, et cetera, et cetera. Anyway, that's my questions.
All right, thank you, Jay. Michele, you're up next. Do you have a question?
Thank you. I just want to make sure I got a few details correct. Every single window will also have a ballistics,
That's just for the,
a ballistics resistant panel or a window. Every single window will be ballistics resistant.
No, not every
Let's
single
clarify
window.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, let me
Let's
take
clarify
you
that.
to the front facade. So actually, the historic photo works just fine. So the 3 windows here that flank either side of the, on the ground floor, that flank either side of the main entrance doors, those windows in particular were requested by Jeshurun to install a ballistics resistant safety glazing assembly on the inside of the window. So that actually has already been installed. That was a little bit of a hiccup between our scope and the community board 7 representative, because that work has already been installed. It didn't require LPC review because it was installed on the interior, which you can't see from the exterior.
Not even at staff level. Staff didn't even review that with you.
No.
Okay.
Now, the doors were replaced under a separate application, a permit for minor work. They are also the same ballistics resistant safety glazing and door assembly in those 2 doors as well. So in case you're familiar with the building and you notice new doors there, the reason for that was the safety concerns.
It's hard to see because of the scaffolding. But
I know, you will see it one day.
down the block every day. All right. I think I have one more question. Bear with me. You said the 6th floor is used as the gymnasium for the school, but there are some windows you want to do what to keep the privacy. Which windows are you glazing, or are you?
So it's 2 things. The gym itself, we're calling to put in a new laminated safety glazing assembly on the inside because they use this as a gymnasium, flying balls and equipment. We don't want to take out our brand new windows. So we're going to be putting in the safety glazing as existing, but we're going to make it look a little nicer. And then you're talking about the obscured glazing. There are some examples where these windows face bathrooms, changing rooms, and locker rooms. Those windows will contain a fire rated glazing with an obscured finish so that you can't see through from outside or inside.
Let me just hold on for a second.
While you're doing that, can somebody promote Colin Weil, the executive director of Jeshurun? He's in the attendees, and also Doug Kleiman.
okay, thank you, Susan.
Just give me a second.
Max, can you take care of that?
I think that covers everything, and the other two people who spoke, I got answers before. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Michele. So Max, are you around, or who can
Oh, yeah.
promote Doug
Absolutely.
and Colin?
Give me 1 sec. I just gotta stop.
Thanks.
There we
Oh,
go.
sure.
Okay, beautiful. Welcome.
So I had Doug already. Colin Weil, correct?
Yep.
Okay. Go ahead. And actually, I'll take this moment as well. Anyone else that's here for a presentation, I've sent you prompts to be promoted. Just click the prompt and you can join the conversation.
Great.
Sent
Thank
it
you,
to
Max.
earlier, and not everybody had confirmed. Go ahead.
All right, thanks. We're up to Mark, and then Mark will be followed by Paige.
Thanks. Between the questions and answers from Jay and the questions and answers from Michele, I've got all my questions answered. When we're ready to comment, you can come back to me. Thanks.
Will do. Thanks, Mark. Paige, how about you? You're on mute.
Is that better?
Oh, that is much better.
Okay, so I see the goal and a lot of the problems, but I'm not convinced of the solution, because this eviscerates and removes much of the charm and original design of the I think it was 1910 building at the back. And I worry that by diluting the appearance of this within some of the spaces, not all of them perhaps need to be treated as heirlooms and beautiful windows. But I think this is a drastic change to the building that will lose a lot of the aesthetics of what the original architects had proposed. And the things that worry me is that, yes, I'm in the industry as an architect, and we end up doing remarkable things with manufacturers to create the approved fire rated requirements. But here we're, if you could show your drawing that shows now they're going to be double hung windows with a wider frame around them, if you look between the two. And I'm assuming the top part is for an air conditioner or something to go through at that level.
Right.
Correct.
The concern I have is here, there are ways that you can recreate, not for all of them. I wouldn't ask that of you, because not every space needs to have these beautiful pastel colors. But I would think that you could, and what my practice has done for other churches we've worked on, is do the follow as closely as we can with the steel window. I'm assuming these are aluminum windows, not steel?
No, the windows
They are
are being
steel.
replaced with steel fire rated windows.
Okay, because I didn't see, oh, there it is, new steel frame, my bad.
That's fine.
So the issue is, there are ways that for certain spaces, you can take the pattern and create basically a glass curtain that can open either as double hung or a panel that can swing into place, so that the integrity of what the architects were calculating as the use of these rooms still has its appearance. There are numerous ways you can do it. I'm not here to tell you how to do it, but I think removing all of the colored glass throughout the building is one of privacy, because then you're using obscured opaque glass that is wrinkled or somehow frosted. And you lose the integrity of what this building looks like. Once these windows are removed, you won't see any color on this building. And this is one of the charming features I feel of it. And the fact that you can see it through the center of the block is testament that I think it would be a shame to lose. And I would challenge you to rethink how you can keep the color glass, at least for the majority of the spaces. I agree, the gym, that's its own thing. I'm not even going to go there, but there are also ways that you can protect those windows as well. So right now I'm sitting on the fence and I'm having a very hard time trying to accept this design alteration.
So Paige, thank you for that. I mean, it's very insightful. It's obviously not anything, as I told you, I've had this application open since 2017. It's
Yep.
certainly nothing that hasn't come across, you know, our thoughts before. We've been working with Colin for a very long time to get this, you know, to where it is. What I can tell you is a couple of things. The photos that are, the windows that we're posing to replace, they're actually not, so like, I wanted to show you this elevation in particular.
Okay.
All of the special windows that I've showed you are actually below. They're adjacent to the synagogue. They're also inside these interior courtyards. So they're not quite as visible to the street as we're somewhat presenting them from this bird's eye view. The other thing too to note is that, as I said, we spoke with Colin about doing this, and there are conversations about possibly doing something on the inside to you know, speak to the historic integrity of the building. However, we are not necessarily putting that under our LPC review because it's not on the facade level. It would be interior to the building in which you wouldn't see it from outside the street.
Can I ask you one other question? Thank you for your explanation. I'm not convinced yet. But the other question I have is for the ballistic glass, the impenetrable one for the windows. I'm assuming that these are going to be operable as well. And where are those ballistic windows glass going to be installed?
So they're already installed.
Oh,
They are
okay.
installed in these 3 windows. So
Oh,
see
okay.
these 3 windows right here with the air conditioners?
Okay.
They're installed on the inside face of those existing historic windows.
And just for my own edification, are these windows, are they double hung on the inside, or is it just one sheet of ballistic perspex, whatever it is, polycarbonate that is framed, not operable?
They're double hung windows.
Double hung, great, thank you.
All right, thank you,
So
Paige.
One item I just want to stress, and Paige, thank you very much. That's a beautiful kind of, this just wonderful to hear another architect say that about a building. The main integrity of the building and the stained glass on the north face is going to be maintained. Everything of that is going to come back. These are secondary facades that are largely invisible to the street that will be undergoing this modification. And the other part I want to stress is that we are trying our very best to actually match the existing sight lines that are present there now. That's part of what Lauren talked about in the cutting of the frame and inserting the new window within it. Doing so allows us to match the historic integrity of the building and what its sight lines are. And while we may be losing that lead caming element, we're at least trying to preserve that much with it as well.
Do you have a drawing of that you could share with us?
Sure.
I can't remember in your presentation. You showed us so many variations. It's this one. Okay.
It's actually the details for the single, double, and triple are largely the same. But if you'll note, the 3 and
a quarter.
Yeah, sight
Okay.
line is
Yeah.
roughly the same.
Okay,
So this area here.
gotcha. All
But
right.
the overall sight line, we are trying our very best to maintain from the masonry opening to the glass. That
Okay.
is definitely
Yeah.
in our intention here. I
So the
believe we're
frame-
3.5 inches.
Yeah. So we're hiding, you know, almost 2/3 of the frame behind that existing cut profile. So you're going to see an exterior frame view of around 2.5 inches.
Kay, may
And
I speak?
Please, Colin.
Yes, please.
So Paige, I appreciate what you shared, and I just want you to know that we're really trying to thread the tension between what we need to do to maintain the building and make it safe and make it, environmentally sound. And also to, respect the historic integrity of the building, but also in the context of a very different use case. And for example, the gym, the third floor space was built as a ballroom. And most of the building as imagined and built in 1929 is very different than the way it is occupied today. And we're trying to figure out the best.
Colin, I think we lost you.
I think he was going to say balance. Yep, he froze.
I'll have to drop off.
All right, hopefully Colin will come back and finish this.
Can we move on? Yeah.
We can. And we're gonna move on to Clary. All right, unless Paige, are you okay? Are you
Yep,
set for now?
I'm done. I'll lower my hand. Thank you.
Okie dokie. Clary.
Okay, I thought I was not confused, but I'm now confused. I thought that Lauren had said that the applied cames and colored glass, while long-standing and perhaps beloved by some or many, were not original to those windows. Did I misunderstand that?
Well, we don't know. I don't have any photos predating the 1960s interior, the interior spaces. So we're working with the photos that we got from the tax from the tax files as well as LPC.
Do we know if it would be unusual for the 1920s to have done that sort of a window application? Or we just really don't know?
No, it's not. I won't say it was common to apply glass on top of glass. I've not encountered this, although I can't claim to have seen more than enough where to know all. But this is certainly a special case where they've welded this lead caming onto the existing window frames at some point. They definitely didn't come. I won't say definitely, but I can tell you that it's not a standard feature of the classic Pomeroy steel frame windows that these appear to be. So they were definitely added, whether immediately following their installation or sometime after that at some point, leading up and all the way up into the 60s. We can't be sure where in that time frame between the early 1900s and the 1960s they came in.
So a related question that I believe it must follow that the designation report, when the building was designated for the district, did not address the question of whether the caming and the colored glass was original or not. Silent on the issue. Okay.
It makes very little.
The other question I had, which follows up on something Jay asked a while ago, and it's really for my education here and maybe that of others. I think Jay's premise was that in the many, many other window replacement applications we've had, that they're all fire resistant windows. That's not been my impression. My impression is that these fire rated windows are relatively unusual and not what we typically see in our window replacement applications that you may not be familiar with because this is your application and the others are not. But what is it about this situation, this building, that requires fire rated windows, if it is indeed the case that that is not generally true with window replacements?
It's the proximity to adjacent buildings. So the lot of the community house is very small, and the distance measured from the property line to the next property line is too small for you to have a non-fire rated exterior enclosure.
I see. So they're not lot line windows, but they're close to lot line windows, and that's the reason why you need fire rated windows. Whereas I would think the vast majority of window replacement applications that we see are not required to and are not fire rated. Is that
right? And so there is a stipulation in the 68 code in which the only exception to this rule falls churches specifically. And we could not make the case that the community house is a church. So we find ourselves with defaulting to the conservative code, which is fire rated windows, which also supports the existing window assembly that we see installed. So we certainly wouldn't want to ever reduce the fire rated, the fire safety rating. We would only want to meet or enhance it.
Thanks. So this has been educational and I appreciate your answers. And in order not probably to speak a second time, I will say that with regard to the caming and the colored glass, while I don't love the fact we're not going to see it back, I can support this, will support this as presented. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Clary. All right, any further questions from the committee?
No,
Leaf
Okay.
Page is waving her hand.
I forgot to ask one question, and that
Sure.
is, are you using a wired glass or is it, because you say obscured glass in the windows, is it going to be wired or obscured? Can you?
Most of the windows for clear glazing are going to be ceramic fire rated glazing. They will only be obscured in areas of bathrooms, changing rooms, and locker rooms.
And no wire glass?
No wired glass in this application.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure.
All right, thanks. I also want to point out that Doug Kleiman has joined us, so welcome, Doug. Vice Chair. Okay, so committee's okay. I wonder if we can tell if there are any members of the public who are here and would like to speak or ask a question.
Can we lower the share screen?
Oh, sure.
Yeah, should we end the screen share?
Sure,
at this
let's
point?
do that.
Yeah.
Let's see our
There we
lovely
go.
faces.
Cool. I'm not seeing anyone with their hands up, but if anyone does want to weigh in from the public,
oh, let's vote.
raise your hand.
There's a couple of comments in the Q&A from at least one public member.
Okay. You wanna share those?
Those are for the next application, I think.
Those
Mark.
are, yeah, these are not for our application.
Okay, right. Okay, fine.
But we have Colin back. Do you want to let him finish what he was trying to say before?
Yes, please, Colin. How can you freeze out there? I don't know. What's going on?
All I was going to end by saying is that we are very conscientious of and concerned as well for the loss of the historic nature of the building, and are looking for ways to preserve that, particularly on the inside where it is truly experienced. And as you know, as Lauren and Dan shared, much of the outside is really not seen that much. And of course, what's seen now is really in terrible shape. So I think we're trying to really improve the experience for those who can see from the outside, and we're really thinking about ways to make the inside a really wonderful place that celebrates the history of the building.
Okay, thank you. Great. All right, well, I heard Peter call for a vote. Did anybody have any discussion prior to Peter's vote, or are we?
Yeah, I do.
Mark? Yes.
If I could jump in now on that. When I reviewed this in advance, and the presentation tonight was incredibly helpful because I was at 6s and 7s trying to understand the drawings without your commentary. But I did get the impression then, and it's been reinforced tonight, that the windows that we're voting on are largely, if not entirely, secondary facades, and some of them are, you'd have to strain to see them from the public way. I will add to that my agreement with those who have spoken before and with the presenters that some sort of, it's a technical legal term, half-assed attempt to imprint a color coding mishigas on top of the windows would be worse than losing the effects altogether. And so while I very much regret the loss of that dimension, that profile that this detail gives these windows, I am satisfied that it's appropriate in this instance. And so if when time comes, I'll be happy to make a resolution to approve as presented. Those are my comments.
All right. Thank you very much, Mark.
Sounds like the time has come.
Well, yes, Susan has raised her hand, though. I wanted to see, do you have a question or a comment?
Yes, I have a modest financial interest in B'nai Jeshurun. I'm a member of the community, a dues paying member, but I have no financial gain from this this application. So I feel confident as the head of the bylaws task force to say that I'm going to support this, not because I'm a member, but just because I think it's the right thing to do. And I will say that as somebody who goes inside the building, it will be a pity to lose the color, but I applaud the effort that's gone into this. I really applaud the effort. Thank you.
All right. And I should say I'm a big fan of B'nai Jeshurun, although, you know.
Well, just so everyone knows, we're doing the synagogue next. So those windows will be restored in kind, no change.
Good. Okay.
Yes,
Let's notice.
those are amazing, amazing windows there.
So we have an application that does not include restoration and refurbishment of historic wood windows.
Right, because that will be approved at staff level.
Okay, so I took that out and we are left with a resolution as presented minus the information about the changes to the front of the building.
Correct.
All right.
All
Shall we
right.
vote on that?
I think we should vote on that.
Yeah.
Does everybody understand what we're voting? I think we do.
Yeah.
Michele, do you want to poll the committee?
Yeah, sure. Peter,
I approve it.
Madge,
Yes, and thank you for the very thoughtful presentation. Understandable.
Sue?
Yes, definitely.
All right, Clary,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes, thank you.
Paige?
A great presentation, but I can't support the scope. Thank you.
So the answer is no.
No,
Okay,
I can't support the scope. Thank you.
okay. Jay,
Yes.
and I'm a yes, and Kay?
Yes.
All right, so the motion carries 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 to 1 to 0 to 0. And non-committee board members, I think there's only Doug. I can't really see him. You want to vote, Doug?
Yes, and yes, and yes.
Yes?
Great.
Okay.
I do
So-
not vote, and my vote is yes.
Is there a date at LPC yet for this project?
No, not yet. I'm very eager to get your resolution so we can get this process rolling.
Okay, and we'll bring it to our full board on September 6th.
Great.
And see what they have to say about it, but, and then we'll be ready to go with your
Thank you.
landmarks.
Thank you very
All right, so
much.
thanks very much. It was
Thank you.
very well done, very helpful. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Everyone, thank you.
Night.
All right.
Night.
Right, this brings us to our second, which is 86 Riverside Drive on 81st Street. So the folks who are here to present for that could be promoted and tell us what you have in mind for us.
Okay, thank you. Good evening. I'm Mary Langen, a principal at O'Neill Langen Architects. I'll be presenting along with Susanna Chan. She's vice president at O'Neill Langen Architects as well. The project is 86 Riverside Drive. We're proposing a rooftop addition. It's within the Riverside Drive, West 80th to 81st Street Historic District. The design proposal, it's within District 10A. The design proposal with this application consists of a rooftop addition to an existing 5-story townhouse. It's at the corner of 86th Street and it's at the corner of Riverside Drive and 81st Street. It's known as 86 Riverside Drive or 322 West 81st Street. We are proposing a horizontal addition component at an existing areaway, which cannot be seen from the street. It's at the southeast corner of the lot. It's currently unoccupied space, and it's literally a shaftway down into the base of the building. The rooftop addition itself will require a certificate of appropriateness from LPC. The exterior facade scope in and of itself will be a repair, a preservation of all the existing details, including window and door replacement, refurbishment of the existing ironwork and limestone on the building. But this will be done as a separate application with LPC, and our intent is to have that reviewed at staff level. This building, which is part of a group of buildings that were built in the late 1890s by architect Clarence True, it's been abandoned for over 10 years and it's fallen into great disrepair. The new owners of the building, they intend to occupy the building as a single-family home. And they intend to lovingly restore parts of the building that have remained intact and can be restored. And that it's a lot of the interior architecture that's within the building. As part of the renovation to the building, they would like to add an elevator. And after a long kind of schematic design and looking at the best place for this elevator, we've decided to put it in that areaway, hence the addition to the building.
I can't see any pictures or anything.
Yes, would you like to?
Susanna, could you call up the presentation? Could you share?
Absolutely. Apologies, everyone. Let me just go ahead and do that.
Thank you.
And you have screen share capabilities.
Yes, thank you. Okay. Let me know if you want me to advance the page, Mary. We'll go ahead and.
I think everyone can tell from this where the location is. You can see the building itself highlighted, and then the houses to the south are the other houses that were developed by Clarence True. So you can see there's a similarity in the architecture there.
And those are gone at this point?
No, they're all there. Existing, the group of 6, including the corner. Although right about where my cursor is, there's a high-rise building which would actually frame the corner, turn the corner of 80th Street. You can see.
Yeah, you'll see that in a later part of the presentation. Okay.
Great.
So the rooftop addition would be access for the elevator. So the elevator, we're planning on building out the portion of the roof that you cannot see from this historical photo. So there's a flat roof behind the gabled roofs, and we're planning, our proposal is to make that into occupiable space, and then to also bring the elevator up to that level, and then there would be an elevator bulkhead on the level above that, which would be the new roof.
Could you show me that again, where you're going to put the elevator?
Sure. Susanna, can you advance for me?
Sure.
I think we have a lot of zoning pages in our presentation. We could skip through those because we are within our, we don't exceed FAR.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I should mention we are also, as Susanna skips through, but we are also planning on replacing the entire roof. The roof tile, the Ludovici roof tile is in disrepair. The roof has been leaking. It's also that roof as it stands now has what we think is a painted metallic coating on it. And so our proposal is to replace that with a roof tile. And we have some samples of it in the presentation. We'll show you the coloration. So the area that we're planning to add on to, if you will, make the addition, is the areaway. And Susanna can show you, it's that the portion in the southeast corner. So it abuts to the neighboring 2 buildings. And right now it's a shaft that goes down to grade and actually down into the cellar. So we'll be using that space for the elevator. The elevator bulkhead is the area this area here is the elevator bulkhead. The space to the east and the south of it will house condenser units and mechanical equipment, which would not be visible from the street. The bulkhead, which we were proposing to bring up to this roof level for a stair, is this area that we're showing you here. And all of this sits behind the line, the ridge line of the tiled roof. Susanna, can you trace that line for them? Yes. We have been working with Landmarks on this project. We've been discussing best ways to try to make a proposal that is amenable. One of the things we've considered doing, and you can see it in our diagrams, is that we're pitching the roof, our roof addition, up and away from the existing roof line. So instead of building straight up, we've actually angled the addition. So that area where we've got skylights and sloped roof comes up from the existing ridge line. The drawing here on the left, we're showing the existing Riverside Drive facade. And you can see the existing ridge line here, as we've been discussing. And then in the drawing 2, that's the proposed addition. So here we are showing the existing ridge line being maintained. And then we're proposing a new sloped roof with a flat roof set back from that, with a aluminum cable rail. We've also worked with Landmarks on this, whether they would prefer a glass or a cable rail. They preferred the cable rail. We are also showing in this drawing, you can see the stair bulkhead as it comes up. And for that stair bulkhead, we are proposing a limestone agglomerate material, which would blend in very well with the existing limestone on the facade of the building, which we will, of course, restore, wash, repair.
Can you show the section the other way? How far is that from the Riverside Drive?
We can this, I just want to, this is the 81st Street facade here, and then I'll show you the sections. So here you can see the existing ridge line, and then the proposed with the sloped roof coming up with the skylights, and then the stair bulkhead, and then in the distance the railing. We are also proposing that any kind of fencing around the condenser units, we would create a green wall to disguise any of that from the neighboring buildings, neighboring rooftops. So the sight lines from the Riverside Drive, you can see, you'll be able to see in the section, but here we go. So the existing ridge line, as you can see here, this is the 81st Street facade. So the existing ridge line comes up. It's quite a steep pitch on the existing ridge. And then we're sloping it back. And then we begin our rooftop addition. So the existing roof is at the level where you see the stair starting to go up. That's a flat roof that's currently not habitable space. And then if we can go to the next, the other view, the other sight line from Riverside. So from Riverside Drive and from the park bulkhead, this is the sight line here. So the reason we pitched that roof back off of the ridge was to give us some maintenance of the ridge line, and also to kind of, alleviate much of the bulk of the addition on the sight line there.
What is that? There's a part of the addition that seems to go beyond the slope there, or what am I looking at?
That is the stair bulkhead, I believe, that you're asking about.
No, I think, are you looking at GL1? That's a chimney, right?
Yeah, what is that?
That is the existing chimney.
Okay.
Yes, so that is at the south face of the building. It's at the party wall. I think if we go back to the facade photos, it'll be easier for you to see. We have made a mock-up of this, of the proposed addition, which I see in the Q&A someone commented on. We have had a contractor build with orange fencing and 2x4s. We've had him build the heights so that we could see them and study them.
Right.
So you can see the chimney on the 81st Street side here. And also there's a very thin chimney on Riverside Drive. Those will be maintained. I would like to point out in this slide, the materials, the roof that we're proposing, the glazed Ludovici tile, the limestone material to clad the bulkhead, and then any kind of windows, skylights would have a gray mullion system on those, and then the aluminum railing. Maybe Susanna, if we can go to the Riverside Drive photos. So here we can see on Riverside Drive, this is what our proposal, what you would see from the street. So we base this photo montage on the orange fencing and 2x4 mock-up that we did. So you can see B1 is the existing. You can see the continuity of the ridge line along Riverside Drive with the neighboring buildings. And then our proposal, you can catch the top of the stair bulkhead from the street. And then we are proposing that we would have a observation deck on the roof, and that would be, there'd be an aluminum guard for safety on that flat roof. If we can go to the Riverside Drive rendering, sorry, the 81st Street.
Should I keep advancing there?
Yes, so this is the 81st Street. As you can see, the neighboring building also has a rooftop, a flat roof addition. And if you could go back one, please. There's a precedent. The neighbor has also a similar type of railing on their flat roof deck. And if you can see on C2, that's the extent of what you would see from the street for our addition. So it's, you really don't see from the street here.
Yeah, and the other half of this. Yes.
Mary, sorry, I have a question. You keep saying from the street, can't see from the street. Do you mean from any public way, including Riverside Park, or do you just mean from the street when you say?
We also are looking at it from the park as well, yes. The park does have a steep embankment. I will point out, I'm sorry, I will point out in our presentation, as Riverside Drive curves down, as the drive curves down toward the south, this D2 is the place where you would see the most of this addition, and you can see it through the trees here. And we have worked with Landmarks to determine that the coloration should be a limestone type material so that it blends in with the rest of the building here. So the mock-up, I believe we created the mock-up in the beginning of the summer. We started the mock-ups. So obviously you're seeing it through the trees here, and you're seeing the pipe railing. So all of these photos that we're showing you, we montage from the mock-up to show you accurately what this rooftop addition would look like from the right of ways.
Okay. All right. Other questions?
Yeah, I have a question.
Madge?
I have a question. Okay.
What's the additional height? Because from these, it doesn't even look like there's any additional height. How much taller is this? And is it above the chimney lines now, where the bulkhead will be in the tallest part of the addition?
It is above the chimney line on Riverside Drive and also on 81st Street, but it's set back. And because those existing sloped roofs are such high pitch, that's why you really, from the right of ways, don't see it as much. The addition itself, from the existing flat roof, which is behind the gable roofs, that that addition to the addition of the new roof is an 11'4" addition.
How much?
The height above the ridge line is 1'11". So yeah.
Thank you.
So we've positioned the bulkhead and the addition for the elevator and the additional occupiable space at the areaway. We've put all of that toward the east of the building, so it's really hidden by the existing roof lines that face the two streets.
I beg to differ. I live on 80th and West End. I've walked by this building a couple of thousand times in the 45 years I'm living in the neighborhood. I took a walk there yesterday. I could see the mock-up, which is bright orange, from 80th and Riverside, 81st and Riverside, 82nd Riverside, 83rd and Riverside. Then I went into the park and walked from 83rd back down to 79th, and I could see the mock-up at though not at 79th Street, but every other location. I'm not sure that anybody walking in the park would notice it because they're looking at the park. And I'm not sure it makes a difference that we can see it, but I could see that mock-up every place that I walk, as I described.
No, I wouldn't argue with that. You can see the orange mock-up. Yes, that is true.
Yeah, it's orange. But and like I said, I'm not sure that somebody walking on Riverside Drive would notice, or walking in the park would notice, because that's maybe not typically what they look at. But those of us have anything to do with preservation are always looking up. But I'm not sure it matters.
Right, and I did point out, and I will stress that as you come from, especially from the north to the south, and from other vantage points as Riverside Drive curves around, you will see that there's a difference here. Our proposal is to make something that is, though, harmonious, so it doesn't stand out like this orange mock-up that you're referring to, Michele.
How long is this project going to take? Because I agree with you that, I got a little peek inside also. There were some guys working on something. And
Yes, I can't say with surety, but we are ready to start construction as soon as we can get this part approved. We have been working with contractors to get some early works into motion, and obviously this is a single family residence. Their children go to school on the Upper West Side. They would like to be in this house as soon as possible.
But that may not be. Yeah, thank you.
We have Mark and we have Clary with questions.
Thanks. You mentioned a limestone something or other cladding for the addition. And since it is at least a little bit visible, I would characterize it as minimally visible, but still visible. What is that going to look like? Is it going to look like that sort of puckered stucco effect, or will it look smooth? What will we see?
The material is it's a limestone agglomerate. It's called Petrarch, and it's available in a flamed finish, which is the one we have chosen. And the coloration is very similar to the limestone that's on the building. The limestone that's on the building is, there's many textures. It's combed, it's rusticated, and it's flat. So this is the one that we've chosen. It does have, as I said, a flamed finish.
So it looks a lot like what stucco would look like. It's just that the composite is a different stone material.
Well, it's not stucco. It comes in panel sizes, so it does replicate the coursing, the limestone. It's not a troweled on finish. It's a stone panel.
Okay. Does it have seams or gaps or any of that sort of thing?
It would have a joint, just as the limestone does. It can be applied with clips. It can be applied it can be adhered to the building. You can put mortar joints in it. Yes.
Okay, okay, thanks.
Thanks, Mark. Clary?
Right. So number one, in response to what Michele said, I exercise, walk in Riverside Park all the time. And when walking north, what I always do is look at the roof lines and the buildings along Riverside Drive. So I'm sure that she and I are not the only people that do that. I suspect that many more people than Michele has referenced do that. And one of the purposes of our landmarks law is to protect views, not just from the street, but from the park. So second, I hate this. I guess it's not our issue, but the fact that a family, however big they are, can't find enough room in a 6-story house because the elevation shows 6 stories, including the basement, and needs a 7th story is not a sympathetic situation, I think, in our current environment, but it's not our issue. Or maybe it is. What I found confusing, Mary, and maybe you can go back to a couple of slides, is I didn't see any orange. I mean, I was really trying to look at these slides where you showed the mock-up to see what's the mock-up and what is, orange would normally help us to, and it's, I guess it's there in the real world, but I couldn't figure out, looking at these things, where your mock-up, where your additions are. So maybe you can help with that.
Okay, so the additions, and the addition is really on the 6th, it's on the 6th floor plate at that roof line. And these are the photos of that we took on site. I think, Suzanne, if you want to go to like the park view, the ones on the bottom, yeah. So when we made the mock-up, we did study it. Yeah.
Did you show us these before? I must have missed it, but.
No, I'm sorry. These were in the zoning part of the presentation.
Oh, okay, well, to me, this is very important because it's showing really a lot up there that you're looking at from Riverside Park. And it doesn't look good. I mean, it wouldn't be orange, obviously, but it's a lot up there. Way visible, and visible, as Michele has noted, and you've agreed also, substantially from the north as you approach from 83rd, 82nd, et cetera. There is, okay, this is a much better visual aid than what we had focused on, for me, than what we had focused on before.
Yeah, why don't you get away from the trees? The trees are in front.
Got to cut down those trees, Peter.
Well, I guess that's the questions that I have and the comments, but my overall comment is yuck.
All right, Susan.
I agree with Clary, and I have to say, I find it very frustrating to see a presentation like this when it's just very frustrating. And I'm not gonna be able to support this at all. I just agree with everything Clary said.
No, I'm not either.
Yeah, and I feel like it's really disingenuous to show the presentation this way. It's just not appropriate.
All right, thank you. Michele?
Yeah, I maybe missed this. Could you talk about the glass enclosed stair bulkhead?
We have amended that as we've worked with Landmarks. They have asked us to make the glass enclosure into the solid enclosure that we're now proposing with the Petrarch.
And can you point to where that is in one of these mock-up pictures? Even though right, can you point to that?
I mean, you have the goddamn trees in front of the building.
Right.
You can't see anything.
So the Petrarch, the portion that would be clad in the Petrarch is the tallest portion at the back, right there. Yeah. That's the stair bulkhead.
Okay, does that clarify that?
Not very well, in my view, but it's helpful. I mean, it's better than
Right.
not having asked and gotten the answer.
I think you can see it if we go to the montage that we did of the streetscape.
Right.
We can explain it that way because obviously the mock-up is the fencing. So the portion that you're seeing where the arrow is pointing and the cursor is, that's what you would see that's the stair bulkhead. That's the part that is proposed to be clad with the Petrarch.
Okay. And then what's the other bit? That's fencing?
That's railing, yes. That's the aluminum railing. And then the portion that you see just peeking up over the ridge line is the green wall that will shield the condensing units.
But the green wall is significantly lower than the elevator, what was glass and is now.
The bulkhead for the stair, yes, that's not for
way
the
higher
elevator.
than and more. It's the green wall does not obscure that
No.
from the public ways, including the park. Okay, got it.
Can we stay on that slide for a second and let Clary finish if she's not?
I think I am.
Okay, so
I'm
if we
really
just
trying to
slide
like
for
this.
a second. I'm seeing lines now that I had not seen before, so bad, my bad. Is there a railing that's visible from the street?
Yes, the railing is what that's the aluminum railing. So it's
And it's because-
aluminum cable rail.
And it's going to be visible just like that?
Yes.
Okay, and
And
then.
how tall is that? Can I butt in, Mark?
Please.
Well, it's a guard, so it's 42 inches above the height of the roof line. So if the existing elevation is 113, so it's 42 inches above that.
You don't really show it very clearly.
No, you don't. And the drawings didn't
I mean,
really show it
that's
clearly.
very unfair.
We can go back to
You're
the,
not being straight with us.
Yeah, I really don't appreciate that.
Yeah.
I believe.
Can we call the question?
No, I'd like to ask another if I could. And
Yeah,
it's
I've got some
really,
questions from Madge and from Jay as well.
yeah, more continued education here because I'm really trying to like this. All of the
Clary, why are you trying to like it when it's visible from the public way?
well, I haven't succeeded, Susan, so don't worry yet.
But
But let me ask a question.
Okay.
All of the what looks like a zillion pane windows, but the things with all those little squares below where those two arrows are, where a dormer window is set in and the gable is on the left. What's all that in between? Is that currently there? Is that current roof? It's
Yes.
gray. It's got a million panels. Yeah. What is all that?
That's the existing roof. So the existing ridge line is being maintained there.
Right. And all that existing roof is made out of what?
It's it's tile. It's Ludovici tile. It's the same tile that's been used in all of the buildings to the south.
But the tile to the building to the south, it's red.
Red, yes.
The existing is a grayish. Is that right?
As I stated, yes, the existing roof, it's been coated with some kind of a metallic.
Oh, that's the coating that turned red and that covered the red Ludovici tile, made it gray. And that will stay that way?
No, we are replacing the roof. We showed the example of the roof roofing material.
I'm sorry if I missed that. So
But you're
what are you,
replacing it with a gray tile or red?
Yes, a gray is the proposal.
why gray if that's an applied cladding and the tiles are originally red and the neighboring tiles are red?
We don't know if the original tiles were red. The tiles that are in the house and are on the roof, they have a black undercoating and then they have a metallic. So we were proposing to replace it with something similar to what's there, but is a gray glazed tile.
Is that part of the application before LPC and before us, the replacement of the existing roof with the new?
No, this part of the application is for the addition, the rooftop addition.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, thanks.
Could I jump in again?
Yeah, then I want to hear from Jay because he hasn't had a chance to speak about this.
Oh, sorry. Jay, why don't you go first?
Okay, I think at least I can offer a pause between beating up on this poor applicant. And I would observe as far, number one, as far as visibility from the public way, if any degree of visibility from the public way disqualified a project from ever being approved, we wouldn't be looking at this project and many others. So the issue with when something is visible is obviously the degree of visibility, the nature of the project that is visible, its appropriateness, et cetera, et cetera. So any comment that, why don't we just vote? It's visible. Let's, reject it is not appropriate. So my feeling about this is, yes, there is visibility, seems primarily from the park. It is the presentation does contain all these photos through the trees, but I don't suspect that any one of us is advocating cutting down the trees. So this is for a significant part of the year going to be what the appearance of this building looks like. My feeling about it is, yes, it's visible. The visibility, in my opinion, is primarily horizontal, and I don't find it to be massive in the context of the building. I understand that this depiction of the railing was hard to identify originally, but it is in fact a cable railing, and in my opinion, is not particularly obtrusive.
You would see it much more than that. Come on,
Much more than what?
You're pulling the wool over your eyes,
No, well, they're not pulling the wool over my eyes, maybe the railing, but I'm looking at it, it's a cable railing. So it's with this blow up of the photo, I think it's a pretty accurate depiction of what it's going to look like. There it is. There's the railing. You're going to see the railing.
It's not accurate.
Well, Peter, with respect, what's not accurate about it? It shows the railing.
Move on. Come on, move on.
Metal
Yeah,
railing, the
We
sun
can.
would.
Let me just ask a quick railing
I mean,
question.
well, whatever. You have your opinion, I have my opinion.
All right.
So to conclude, as I said, I think
Yeah.
primarily the visibility is there. It's primarily horizontal, and I'll reserve declaring my vote until we vote.
All right. Thank you, Jay.
We're on tenterhooks, Jay.
Yes. No idea. Okay, Mark.
Thanks. So I was originally wanting I'm in favor of putting elevators into structures like this, so I was inclined to be supportive of it. But I take it that this railing, which I find problematic, is driven by not by the introduction of the elevator, but by the desire to use the roof as occupiable space, or a rooftop deck or some such thing. Is that a fair assessment?
Yes, it is fair. If we didn't have the observation deck, there would be railing, though, a guard for safety for people maintaining the equipment on the building. So, but it would be set back. Yes.
So so it could be made invisible if the railing were set back, and the roof and there were no roof deck. So that's probably where I'm going. So that's helpful. I don't know if we're talking about resolutions at this point, but that's I'm ready to talk.
Could I follow up, Jay and Michele, on Mark's question?
Yes, Clary.
Can we vote?
Not quite.
Can I say something? My hand isn't working.
Oh, Paige, and we haven't. We
Okay,
haven't heard from
Paige,
you
I was
yet.
just
Why don't we
following
hear?
up on Mark's question, if I could, and then.
Sure, please.
Okay. So I understand the idea is to have people able to walk on the roof and use it for whatever purposes. I get that, that's fine. My question is, could the railing be set back, or let me ask you first, Mary, it looks as if, and I think I understand, if the railing is actually at the actual perimeter. Is that right? As shown now, and that maximizes the walkable, usable space on the flat roof. Is that right?
It is at the perimeter of the flat roof, but keep in mind, as I explained, the roof does slope back away from the ridge line first before we get to that flat roof. So it's not exactly at the ridge line.
Right. Now, I got that. So, but my question is, could the, oh, I'm using my own cursor, but you guys obviously can't see it. Could the railing be set, the 42-inch railing, as shown, be set somewhat back so that it becomes less visible from public ways, while still allowing, while less usable walkable space, still allowing, you know, usable walkable space up there? In other words, could you move this railing back? I think you said if it were a protective railing just for purposes of maintenance, protecting maintenance workers, it would be set back. So the question is, can it be set back?
It could, yes.
Consistent with the owner's objectives, but not necessarily 100% consistent. But could it be set back in a way that would make it way less visible or materially less visible from public ways? We'd still have the elevator bulkhead, which is a whole nother thing that's very visible. But is the railing movable? In other words.
Yes, you are correct. It's movable. Yes.
All right.
And it'd be less visible. That's an issue for me. Okay, thanks.
Can I have to leave? I can't continue. Can I vote?
What's
Nothing to vote on yet.
yeah, we don't have the resolution yet, Peter.
What?
I think we're getting there. We're getting close.
Paige wanted to say something.
Yeah, and Paige wanted to speak.
Could we ask the applicant to put the section on the roof that shows the existing deck and the two-story addition that you're proposing, please?
Nothing but trees.
Well, the drawing, here we go.
We like trees.
No, the other, well, this one will do. So right now, if you were to, and I'm sorry, I don't have a pointer and my hand doesn't work and all this stuff. But if you look at the existing, there currently is not a 6th floor, correct? Right now, this would be open space. I don't know if you can see it.
Yes, the ridge line is as you see it. We've maintained that, but then the space behind that ridge line is a flat roof.
Correct. And then you're adding 19 feet 2 inches up against the adjacent property, correct?
That is correct, yes.
Is there, because we don't have the companion to see its impact on the adjacent roof. I'm assuming it does not have, it only goes to the 6th floor roof, correct?
I'm sorry, I didn't understand your question.
In other words, you're adding 19 feet 2. Where is the companion building
the adjacent
located?
Could we go to the montage, because I think that will explain it to you, because it shows the before and after.
Ken, I have to leave. My vote is no, okay?
Can't do it.
Okay.
I
leave a vote.
I think we're going much too long on this, you know? This is a joke.
All right,
I agree. And I'd also like to know if we could promote Eric Bates, who I assume is from the community and seems to have some.
I have to leave. I'm sorry.
Thanks,
All right,
Peter.
All right, thank you, Peter.
Forward, Peter.
Oh.
Sure,
Okay,
I've tried to promote Eric previously.
I give up. I'm not going to comment anymore. Thank you.
Maybe
Eric,
we
if
can
you're
have
there,
time to
just
get
click the
Peter's
prompt.
vote if he's still with us.
It seems that Madge wants to talk also.
Yeah.
I previously asked a question about how much taller this would be, and you said 1.5 feet, I believe is your response. But when I
That's
see
the-
pictures like this,
That's the height from the ridge line to the new roof line.
but you're adding, how about the bulkhead? How much farther up is that coming?
That's
And-
19'2" from the existing flat roof at the rear.
That doesn't look like what that picture just showed us.
From the existing roof line, Susan, could you call up A003?
When you're adding a whole floor plus,
Yes, it is a whole floor plus the stair bulkhead.
you said 19 feet of a whole floor. That's a very tall floor.
It's the floor then plus the elevation of the new roof and then the stair bulkhead creates the 19.2.
Total.
So if the existing roof ridge is at elevation 113, and then the new stair bulkhead, which is set back from that ridge line, is at 123. So
Well, it's impossible to see in any of these pictures. So
All right, did we get an answer to the question of what the building next door, the comparable bulkhead there is? Was there a way to answer that and I missed it?
No, that was not finished.
Okay.
I do not know the height of the neighboring building, but we can show you here. We have the neighbor's ridge height against ours, which is similar, and we can look at it in the photo. So it is the same, 10 feet above. Does
Can you
that,
show us the photo of the current 81st Street? It's 81st Street, right?
yes.
Correct.
So we see both buildings right now?
So
Sure.
the C1 is 81st Street as is, and you can see that's the one we were pointing to before, where there is a flat roof deck on that building, we believe as well. And then on the photo on the right, you can see that's the current with the mock-up the photographs taken. So you can't see from that streetscape looking across the street, you don't see the bulkhead there. This photo was taken after we did the mock-up, the one on the right.
So you're saying if the orange mock-up were visible, we'd be seeing it in this photo, but
In
it's not
C2, correct.
not visible from 81st Street.
Correct.
Okay. All right. All right, I do want to wrap this up, but I don't want to cut off the discussion, and I see a number of hands still raised. How are we gonna take care of this? Madge, are you okay?
yes,
Okay. Jay, are you all set?
Yeah, I just have a quick comment. I find it very disturbing, the tone of some of the comments about this application and the applicants. I mean, we have a job to do. It is not our job to beat up on applicants. It's not our function to decide how much space a family needs in their home. It's not our job to say, well, the hell with it, it's visible, let's vote against it. Our function is to decide if a particular proposed project is appropriate to the individual building and appropriate to the historic district. And there's certainly room for disagreement. But I think that the comments on visibility have been somewhat antagonistic and exaggerated. And I don't think that it's appropriate to take that kind of a tone with it. I'm sorry Peter isn't here to hear my comments, but I'll be happy to repeat them if this kind of dynamic happens again. We have plenty of room for disagreement, and people can vote based on how they feel about it, but we have certain standards of of what we decide in terms of appropriateness and what we decide and how we conduct ourselves. And I've found this discussion to not be appropriate at all.
All right, thank you, Jay. I see a hand raised from Igor Kral. Is that what's the nature of that? Are you a member of the public? Are you part of the presenting team? Did you just get stuck here in a time warp or something?
Igor, you should have the ability to speak. Go ahead.
Okay, maybe that's just an error. All right, and okay, so I think we better get to figuring out what our resolution is. And anybody wants to take a crack at it?
So I'll jump in, and mindful of what Jay was saying, I think I disagree with him on the merits of the application, but and I also want to make sure that we've read the comments in the Q&A from Mr. Bates, who speaks somewhat eloquently about the points of decision that we're supposed to be addressing. So I'm thankful for those comments, and I would propose, and mindful also that we shouldn't be redesigning somebody's building for them. I think we should simply have a resolution to disapprove based on the overall bulk and visibility. I don't think that the choice of materials is bad, so I wouldn't include that. But I think that the bulk and the visibility of that bulk are inconsistent with this rather intact the Charles True group.
Clarence True.
Clarence True. Excuse me. What the hell? Where did I get that from? Anyway, that's the bulk. That's sort of how I would phrase it if that works for folks. So that would be a resolution to disapprove.
I'm wondering if I could try to parse Mark's proposal a teeny bit. I think what we're looking at is two things that, to the extent we have any common reactions here, have been concerning. And I think when Mark spoke of the bulk, I think he was talking effectively about the railing and the elevator bulkhead. I don't know that there's anything, or maybe is that what you meant, or was there more to it than that, Mark, that in terms of visibility?
So it's both height and bulk. You're correct to correct me. I think I'm actually more concerned about the stair bulkhead than the elevator bulkhead. But it's both of those plus the railing for sure, especially with the railing right up. It's going to change the view of that currently intact roof line or ridge line, I think the applicant is calling it. So that's the nature of my concern, however we choose to phrase it, if that meets the committee's approval.
And Mark, if the railing were moved away from the edge so that it were no longer as visible or no longer visible, that would not change your resolution?
That's where I think we start to wander into territory of either, as Jay was saying, redesigning the use of the building by its owner, or redesigning the architecture by the architect. And I think you're right. I don't think we should go there.
I agree.
We either think that the exterior image is correct and appropriate, or we don't. And I come down. I think it's a closer call than some of my colleagues, but I come down on the side of saying that it's not.
I agree with you on that. We shouldn't redesign.
All right.
So do we advance a motion to disapprove the resolution to disapprove the application? Because the bulk and visibility are not consistent with the other historic buildings in the district. That leaves a lot of room to work with
I'll be
And,
glad to sketch that out for you, Michelle, if that would be helpful.
okay, that'd be terrific. So I'll take a vote on the resolution to disapprove. Susan?
Technicality, it should be seconded by somebody.
Oh,
Second,
yeah. Okay,
I think that was Susan.
all right, Susan, what's your vote?
I agree with the resolution to disapprove. And just as a brief mention, what I found frustrating about this presentation was the lack of transparency. Thank you very much.
Okay, Madge,
Disapprove.
So
Larry?
you're voting yes to disapprove, right?
Yes, to
Yes.
disapprove. Larry?
Yeah, I think I'm closer on this than some others of you. But if it's got to be a yes or a no, I will vote in favor of the resolution reluctantly.
All right, Mark?
Yes on the resolution, thank you.
Paige?
You're on mute.
There's still some details that we actually haven't discussed with the applicant, namely plantings, tenting, other shelters on the rooftop. And I consider this somewhat incomplete. I hope they come back, and I'm voting with disapproval.
All right, Jay?
No,
I'm voting with disapproval. And Kay?
I have to say that this corner was what finally convinced my wife and I to move to the Upper West Side. It is a precious, precious piece of our common heritage, and I'm both very excited that it's going to be occupied and restored. So I hate to dissuade anybody in their development of this beautiful piece of property, but I have to vote with the bulk of the rest of the committee. Yes.
Okay, so the resolution to,
And do you have Peter Sampson's vote as well?
well, I don't know,
Yeah,
he's not
vote.
here.
not here to
I think,
vote.
I mean, I think we know what he,
Yeah, but you
but I
can't,
think we can't record
He
it.
can
You
vote
can't
at
leave
full
a vote.
board.
Sure.
He can vote at full board.
Let 'em
So
vote.
at the committee level, the resolution to disapprove the application was passed by a vote of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 to 1 to 0 to 0. Now, is Doug still here?
He
I'm
is.
here, yes to the resolution.
All right, so that's 1 to 0 to 0 to 0. Thanks, Doug. But this is not the end of the conversation. And I agree with Kay. I'm looking forward to seeing this get all cleaned up, having passed it, and wondered what goblins lived in the castle. And that'll be a nice family.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Mary.
And it'll go to full board on this, on the 6th. Is there a LPC date for it? Yeah.
Susanna, do we have a date firmed up yet with LPC?
I think we were talking about the 20th, but it's a tentative.
What, 20th of August?
September.
No,
No, LPC's done for the summer.
Whew. Okay, thank you.
Okay,
All right,
thank you.
thanks, everybody.
Okay.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
You're not stopping. I want to talk about something I learned the other day.
Can't wait.
And at LPC, there was an application to a big building downtown that the rooftop, we were told that the rooftop was parceled off and rented by individual tenants, but they're taking that back and they're developing a park and a space that they didn't say this. One of the neighbors said they're going to have a restaurant up on the roof, which is not unusual. But LPC said they do not regulate the use of a rooftop.
Right.
And I knew that, but I didn't know that. So I'm just kind of passing that on to you all. And maybe that's something we have to think about in the back of our minds going forward. Especially those big.
If I'm sunbathing on my roof, I don't have to worry about LPC, or the rest of the neighbors may not like it.
You just have to worry about somebody seeing you.
Yeah, it won't be pretty.
From the street.
Yeah.
Just don't stand up.
Yeah. Believe me.
So does anybody else have any new business they want to talk about? Anybody still sweating?
Yeah. I just want to say I'm flying to Cape Town on Monday, and it's winter
Wow.
there. And I'm so looking forward.
Oh,
Okay.
It's a beautiful city.
Is that right?
Yeah, it really is. It's an amazing city, very cosmopolitan. I had good fortune to be there once, and it kind of reminded me of San Francisco.
Huh.
A little bit. It's quite a place.
And
Right.
Going on safari too.
No.
Too bad. It's
Seminar.
the greatest.
Bye, Madge, if you're gonna go. All right, I guess if nobody else has anything to say, it's great to see everybody. See you.
All right.
Bye.
Thanks a lot.
All right, thank you.
hi,
Thanks.
everyone.
Safe
everybody.
travels, Georgia. Okay.
Thank you.
Yes, safe travels.